Sihoo claims that you will experience support and comfort that seems to defy gravity in their Doro S300 chair. It's been 60 days of testing since my first impressions video, so I've had plenty of time to decide if this chair redesigns comfort. I was surprised to find that some of the things I liked during my first sit test turned out to be problems in the long run. At the same time, its best-in-class seat continued to shine through months of testing. Now that the chair has dropped to $600, there's also increased value if it's a good fit for you. Just like most chairs under $1,000, you'll need to partially assemble the Sihoo chair. It won't take you more than 15 minutes with their easy-to-follow directions. As I put the chair together, I was able to feel the high quality of materials they used and also get a first look at some of the innovative features built into the chair, both in the seat and the backrest. Since much of your weight is being pushed down into the seat comfort elevates to the top of my priority list when choosing a chair. So the question is, was Sihoo able to make a comfortable mesh seat for $600? Part of this will come down to your personal preferences, but even for someone who likes mesh chairs, I have a difficult time finding a mesh seat I like. When I made my tier list, the only chairs with a mesh seat that ranked C tier or higher were over $1,000. I can finally say that I found a sub $1,000 chair that would get a B tier ranking. Stay with me for the whole video because I've recently tested 2 more chairs that would also rank in the C or B tier range, and one of them is under $300. To see our full office chair guide, click the link in the description. Now back to Sihoo. The reason they were able to reach this level of comfort is because they copied the king of mesh chairs, the Aeron. And why not? The Aeron is one of the few chairs that avoids many of the typical mesh seat issues. You can see these resemblances in the shape of the frame and the waterfall front edge. This design holds the mesh tight enough to keep it from bunching up and also eliminates the need for a pad at the front. A big bonus for the S300 is the adjustable seat depth, with range to accommodate for a wide group of people. With all these positives, you may be wondering why I wouldn't rank this A tier, but the problem lies in that hard frame. It limits the different ways that you're able to sit in the chair. I love sitting with one leg tucked up underneath me, and this really isn't possible. You're forced to stay more centered on the seat because deviating from center puts you in contact with the frame. It's also a firm seat. So when choosing a mesh chair, the benefit is a suspended and cooler seating experience, but not necessarily a plush one. So why haven't I talked about those shocks yet, right? Well, according to Sihoo's website, the shock suspension effectively absorbs shock. In my first impressions video, I said it would take me some time to test out what I thought they were really doing. My conclusion is that the first part of their claim is correct. It absorbs the force of initially sitting down in the chair, but once seated, they stay compressed and make no impression. So I don't notice the shocks dynamically changing. For the most part, my first impressions held true for the seat, and I'm happy to say this is one of the better mesh seats available, especially if your budget is under $1,000. Backrest comfort is where my first impressions were a bit deceptive. Leading off with some positive aspects, in contrast to the seat, you can really feel the shocks on the lower lumbar pads dynamically changing. As you move around in the chair, the lower support pivots to keep pressure against your back. The gas lift adjustment allows you to adjust the amount of pressure to your preference. An issue I didn't initially notice was the gap between the upper and lower backrest, leaving you with no support for the middle of your back. This led to me feeling like I needed to help support myself, engaging my core while sitting in the chair. I'd catch myself tensed up because I wasn't letting my body relax into the backrest. Adding to this, one of my biggest complaints is that the recline tension does not tighten enough. This forces you to hold yourself at your desired position if you don't lock the recline in place. A typical backrest like the Headrest Zodi or the Aeron will give you that consistent support throughout your whole back as you sink into the chair. And with the proper amount of recline tension, you can dial in the strength so the chair will hold you at any point throughout the recline range. This is a good opportunity to introduce one of the new chairs I've tested recently that has neither of these issues. The Eurotech Ergohuman Gen 2 in all mesh. As you can see, the Ergohuman has a separate lower and upper back supports. The difference is that when you're leaning back into the chair, you can feel the flexibility of the lower lumbar support, but you don't lose connection to the upper portion. The first version of the Ergohuman had a problem similar to the Sihoo gap, but after 18 years of user feedback, they fixed the gap with the Gen 2, leading to a substantial comfort improvement. A less crucial issue I discovered with the S300 is that the backrest mesh has a tendency to pull on clothing. This is more of a nuisance than a real problem with comfort, but it's still worth considering if you're on the fence. It might be easier to show what it looks like when clothes doesn't get pulled by the mesh. The positive of the mesh is that the material is very soft to the touch, with Italian velvet woven into the mesh. Sihoo held nothing back when they designed the arm package for the S300. The 6 dimensions include height, depth, width, pivot, upward angle, and coordinated with the backrest. Now, from the looks of their graphics, this means that the arms go back with you when you recline in the chair. All of these standard adjustments work great with nice ranges. Not quite to the level of the gesture, but it comes close. I'll take as many adjustments as I can get, unless the adjustments come with side effects. And this is the case with the upward angle. The idea is that you can angle your arms up higher for gaming or using a device, and they work great for this purpose. The side effect is that it's too easy to activate this adjustment when putting too much weight at the back of the arm pad. They also added a bump at the back of the pads to keep your arms from sliding off. I initially thought I could live with this contoured design. My arms would usually drop on a good spot when working at my desk. While this remains true for the most part, over time using the chair, I found it was too limiting. If you change positions, you want freedom to put your elbows anywhere on the pad. And this isn't possible. Honestly, even with all these adjustments, I prefer the arms on the $280 chair I'll suggest later. The headrest is a bit too short for me at 6'2", but I'd say that if you're under 6 foot, this is a great feature on the chair. When our videographer Frances tested out the chair, she thought it felt nice. So basically, it will depend on your height if you're able to use the upper backrest as a headrest. The adjustable back height helps to get that in the most comfortable position. If you've made it this far, I'm assuming you like the looks of the chair, because it can be polarizing and immediately push people away if you don't like chrome. It also has visible mechanical features like the shocks, which you may prefer not to see. The white and gray colors blend together nicely, just as the chrome complements the black version of the chair. I want to give you a couple alternative options for those that are realizing this isn't the right chair for them. First, let's return to the Ergohuman Gen 2 I covered earlier. I'm not trying to hide it, BTOD sells the Ergohuman. Now you can call me a shill, but I'm going to recommend it anyway. I prefer the seat, backrest, arms, and adjustments on the Ergohuman, and that's pretty much all there is to a chair. It will be a bit more expensive if you can stretch your budget to it, but your body will thank you. My second alternative you'll have to go to Amazon for, and that's the Colony 5188. Ryan recently posted a full review of this chair, so you can get all the details there. To give you my quick take, it's a mesh seat under $300 that's actually sittable, with nice lumbar support, a good headrest, and better arm pads than the S300. If you're dead set on an all-mesh chair, here's 3 options to try, all of them with free returns to give you the opportunity to test before committing. To see how we rank all the most popular office chairs, click the link in the description for our guide.